Okay, in any event, if you aren't muted, please mute your microphone. We're going to keep the questions till the end and let Dan roll through the content. So there will be a recording for today's session. I also wanted to mention quickly that with Skype, sometimes people with network issues will lose audio or video. If you lose either, please send a note in the chat window, and if other people can still hear and see, then our best suggestion is to leave the meeting and come back. That seems to be oftentimes the best solution for that kind of scenario. If we lose audio or video for everybody, that'll be a different problem, obviously, but we haven't had that happen before. So just check out and check back in. I also wanted to make note of the fact that there's a URL for a survey that Microsoft would love us all to fill out at the end of the webinar. So there's a URL in the chat window. We'll post it as well on a slide at the end. And with that, I'm going to introduce Dan Renier, who is a principal at Milestone Consulting Group and a partner at Milestone Consulting Group. He's headed up our education division for 13 years. He's probably the preeminent guru of the desktop tool that we've ever known, anywhere that we know of in the U.S. certainly. So we're happy to have Dan on today. Molly Keel from Microsoft could not be here, but asked us to say hi and let you know that she is your person to reach out to at Microsoft for anything related to trials or licenses of Project Online, things along those lines, anything to do with project and its portfolio management solution. And we have her contact information on the slide at the end as well. So Dan's going to cover a topic that Molly asked us to cover on reporting and the desktop tool, and we also have a webinar coming up in March, which we have details for at the end of the slide deck as well, related to managing non-project work in Microsoft Project. So if you're in a PPM environment and you're trying to manage non-project work, things that are departmental in nature, bucket type projects, we've got some great guidance on that. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Dan. Dan, go ahead.
All right, thanks, Dave. I assume you can hear me?
Yeah, you sound great.
All right, excellent. Well, again, welcome everybody for attending today's session on reporting in Microsoft Project Pro presented through Office 365. Again, my name is Dan Renier at Milestone. As Dave mentioned, a partner at Milestone, person that spent a lot of time working on, you've probably heard us talk before about our YJTJ process for Microsoft Project. I've done a lot of speaking over the years for different organizations on Microsoft Project and project management, and I've done some writing over the years as well, and I've been playing around with Microsoft Project on a day-to-day basis for a long time, so hopefully our collective years of experience will shine through for you today. Some simple session information to get started. This session provides an overview of reporting in Project 2016, presented via Project Online. Please note that with Project Online, new features may be added at any time by Microsoft. And finally, due to the short duration of this session, please note there is not enough time to cover every aspect of reporting in Microsoft Project. We could spend hours and hours talking about reports, building custom fancy reports, which we'll do a little bit of today, but we could spend a long time talking about this topic. Okay, so our agenda for our brief time together today is just have a real short reporting discussion. We'll talk a little bit about reporting prior to 2013, kind of to set the stage. And then when we get into Microsoft Project, you're going to be looking at the Report tab on the ribbon, which includes the ability to create new reports, take a look at some existing dashboard resources, cost and in progress reports. There's some custom and recent commands that you have access to. And if time permits today, we'll take a quick look at visual reports. All right, so our topic for is reporting, so we'll just go ahead and get started. We're going to spend just a little bit of time here in PowerPoint, and then the majority of the time will all be in Project. So to set the stage with a quick discussion, I thought it was important to have a definition for reporting. So I went out to dictionary.com and found a very simple definition where reporting is an output, especially printed, containing organized information. So with that said, every printable view in Microsoft Project qualifies as a report. Over the years, I've had many people say Microsoft Project's reporting capabilities are not that strong. But if you stop and take a look at that definition, every printable view in project then qualifies as a report, because a view can include organized information and it can be printed. The Gantt chart view, the task sheet view, the tracking Gantt view, the resource sheet view, the task and resource usage views, or any other out-of-the-box view or custom view may be considered a report. See, in Microsoft Project, all project, task, resource, and assignment information may be accessed, viewed, and printed directly from views in Microsoft Project, and this without ever navigating to report on the ribbon. One example is the task sheet view. Many people over the years have said, Dan, I want to print some information that's contained in a table, but I don't want a time scale. I don't want a Gantt chart. Well, if you're looking for a report that does not include a time scale, you could just apply and print the task sheet view. It's organized and ready to print, just like the definition. So if you look back in time at reporting prior to 2013, and you don't think about every view in itself being a report, what people were concerned about was just the native reporting features that you would find in 2010 and earlier, where you'd navigate to the project tab, head to the reports group, and you'd click reports. And you'd find 6 categories. So you'd select a category like overview, and then select one of the canned reports, like project summary. It would display, and then you would print, and you would have a report. Well, these were static reports with no ability to add and or remove fields on the fly with the report displayed. So that's a very important note. These were static reports with no ability to add and or remove fields on the fly with the report displayed. Okay? If you wanted to edit the fields displayed in the report, you had to close the report, navigate to and edit a table, and then reapply the report and have a look. There was no intuitive ability to copy and paste a report and many other things. Okay? So this is not the case in 2013 and beyond. But before I go any further, all prior versions of Microsoft Project, if you just for a moment don't think about a menu that says report or a ribbon tab that says report, all the views that are printable fall under the definition of a report. But what I believe people are looking for are the really pretty reports. And so I agree, Project 2010 and earlier, there was no real attractive way to create reports. So if you take a look at 2013 and beyond on the report tab on the ribbon, okay, which is new to 2013 and beyond, a tab dedicated just to reporting, you'll find the ability to create new reports. There's out-of-the-box dashboards, resources, cost, in progress, some getting started information. You can see anything you've made custom, get after your recent reports. This is a nice enhancement. But what I want you to think about is what's the main difference between reporting prior to 2013 and now? And I would argue that the main difference is the ability to get at fields easily without having to close out of reports and modify tables, which you had to do historically. So we're going to go through a demonstration. Okay, I'm going to get out of PowerPoint now and take you into project. I'm going to follow some steps I have printed out here on my desk that you can't see. And we're going to begin with simple reports and make it a bit more advanced as we move along. Again, we could spend hours doing this. So now you should see Microsoft Project on the screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new report. So we're going to navigate to the Report tab. And from the New Report drop-down, I'm going to go ahead and select Table and start with a simple table report. And I'm going to name that Work and Cost. And then I'll click OK. Now let's take a moment to point out the defaults of a new table report, because there are a number of them configured by the engineers at Microsoft So when you choose that path, report, new, and table, you understand what they've put out here to get started. There's a text box here. That's all this is a text box that inherits the report title. The report title is sitting over here in the vertical title strip where you normally see the name of a view in Microsoft Project. The fields that the engineers at Microsoft decided that would be in this new table report are name, start, finish, and percent complete. I'm going to click right on the table, and that's going to open the field list on the right-hand side. Notice down in the bottom right-hand corner that the outline level is currently set to project summary task, in other words, show row 0 data only. The report is also based on a filter, a group, and a sort order. If you take a look at reporting prior to 2013, right, those were based on a table and a filter, primarily. Notice there's nothing down here for table in 2013 and beyond. The reason for that is all the fields are listed up here. There's no table selection. There's just a nice ability to select the fields that you want on the fly without having to close out of a report. This field list shows by default up here on the Design tab of the Table Tools menu. Okay? Table data is displayed by default. If it's not, you can simply select that. So I'm going to click on this text box that has the title. I'll select the text that's here, navigate to the Task tab on the ribbon. I'll change the font size to 20 and change it to bold. I'll resize this text box a little bit and then navigate to the Format tab and change the shape fill to light blue. Now I've learned in working with reports over time that I need to move these over to the left if I want to print these so they'll print on one page. Printing and reporting still has some issues, I would say, from Microsoft Project historically, but if you move things over to the left and navigate to print preview, you should have things lined up pretty well. There are other things you can do regarding your margins, orientation size, etc. outside the scope of today. I'm just going to move them to the left for now. Now I'm creating a custom report here, so I'm going to click the table again, and that's going to open the field list. I don't want the start field. I don't want the finish field. Okay, and I also don't want percent complete. But what I do want in this report, since this is a work and cost report, is not date information. I want work, and then I want cost. So far, so good. I don't want to just look at row 0, so I'm going to change the outline level to all subtask. And I don't want milestones included in this report. There's one, scope complete. So I created a custom filter earlier called no milestones. So far, so good. Now my sort order looks good. I know the order of these tasks, so I don't need to change it. But down here in my field list, I want to choose show hierarchy, so I can see summary task with subtask. The table's still selected, so I'll navigate to the Task tab, and I'll change the font size to 14 and bold, and now my report's looking better. Next up, I'll resize the name field, and I'll resize the work field, and now I'll just move this up a little bit, and now I have a nice looking report. But think about a task sheet view with a custom table that has the name field, the work field, and the cost field. It's basically the same thing, right? But what's nice here now is on my report tab, in my recent list for this project, or my custom list, excuse me, I now have a new report named work and cost that's a part of this project. And if I wanted to go to the organizer and put it in my global.mpt file to make it available for all projects, I could do that. Over here in the field list, I'm currently on the task side of the Microsoft Project Data Model. If I want to click on resources, this report also includes all of the resources, all of the work they're currently assigned, and the cost as well. I'll navigate back to the task side of the data model. Okay. If you want to move fields around in the table, you can do that right here where my mouse is. You can just grab any one of these and move them around. I'm going to leave them in this position. If I wanted to put cost in front of work, I would just drag it and drop it between name and work. I could do that. And then if you want, you can come up here to Report Tools, where you can come copy the report. And you could go out to, say, Microsoft Word. You create a blank document and right-click on that report. Okay, and go ahead and paste that report right into Microsoft Word or right into Microsoft PowerPoint, and now you have an organized, ready-to-print report as the definition described earlier. So far, so good. Here's another thing I like about the new reporting capabilities in Project, is I can go to the View tab with this report displayed and navigate to the Split View group and select Details, and that's going to put the Gantt chart view in the bottom pane. With the Gantt chart view activated, I could go to Outline and select Level 1. I could come back up and click on my table and change my outline level here from All Subtask to Level 1, and maybe just right-click, and there we go. That adjusted the time scale. And there's a nice combination view, the work and cost report over the Gantt chart view, which includes schedule information. So far, so good. I'm going to close this file, so I'm done working with it. I'm going to go open my next file that has that particular report that we just created already in it. Now this project has some actual data. The one before was the project getting ready to be started. This one has some tasks that are complete, and it has a task that is underway. So I'll navigate back to the Report tab and head to New Report. And this time I'm going to choose Comparison. Okay. I'm going to name this one Work by Phase. And click OK. I now have another new report in the system. The text box inherits the title. The title of the report is over here in the vertical title strip where you normally find view names. And there's a number of things just to point out. Okay. Right now, this graph to the left is currently selected. Okay. And so the fields that are currently listed in the field list are based on this graph that's currently selected. If I select the graph to the right, the field list changes to show me what fields are currently included to the graph on the right. I'm going to click on the graph on the left. Again, when we went to Report and New and chose Comparison, the engineers at Microsoft created this report with a few fields selected that you see here in two graphs. So I'm going to choose this text box. That's all this is. Select the name, go back to task. I like the font size of 20 and I like the title bold. Resize it a little bit. Navigate to Format. Now change the background to light blue. Maybe I'll move this over here a little bit. Okay. Now, I want to customize these comparison charts. So I'm going to click on the chart on the left, remove actual work, and remove remaining work. Now it's just a blank chart. What I want in this particular report, one moment here. So something just happened. There we go. I want baseline work. Now I'm going to change the title in this particular report here, this graph, to Work and Baseline Work. Comparison. I'll select this text, navigate to the Task tab, and make it bold. So far, so good. Now over in the field list, I'll roll up baseline, and I'm going to add in work. I don't want to be looking at any milestones, so I'm going to change the filter, which the default with the comparison report is active task, to no milestones. And the outline level is at outline level 1. That's where I want it for phases, and I'm not doing any grouping. I need to change the sort order, so I'm going to open up sort by, choose custom sort. We're going to sort based on ID, and I'll change this to ascending. Oh, sometimes the sort is not working properly, so I'm going to edit that and change it back to descending. And now I have everything in the right order. That's the only thing I'm seeing some discrepancy with now and then, is the sort ordering working properly. Just keep an eye out for that. Now with the chart selected, from the Chart Tools Design tab, I'm going to select the third chart styles option to make it a nicer looking report. I'll resize the report by stretching it to the left, stretching it up, and stretching it down. And then the work bars, which are kind of an orange color, I'll right click on one of them and I'll change the fill for work to red. So now on the left hand side of this comparison report, I have a nice comparison between work and baseline work. Now I'll click on the graph on the right hand side. I'm going to remove actual work, remaining work, and work. And I'm not looking for a comparison report on the right. I just want to see work variance. Again, I don't want to see any milestones, so I'll go to my custom no milestones filter to make sure there's no milestones there. My sort order is fine. And with this chart selected, I'm going to select the fifth style for this chart. I'll go ahead and stretch this chart out and get it to the right size that I want. So I'll stretch it up, stretch it left, stretch it down. Sometimes you just have to do a little maneuvering with these charts to get them exactly how you want them. Then once you get them the way you want them, they're good from that point forward. Stretch this a little bit more to the right, this one a little bit more to the left. I'll take this one even a little bit more to the left. So I want this one a little bit more to the left. And there we go. And I will go ahead and right click these bars and change their fill to a darker blue. And now I have a nice work by phase report. A comparison chart, work and baseline work comparison on the left hand side, and work variance on the right hand side. Okay. Now, one thing I like too with a comparison report that's got a combination of fields in it, in other words, more than one field, is if you want, you can just take this graph over here and right click on it, and you can choose change chart type. And I would encourage you to get familiar with combo, right? Because combo allows you to take your fields and within the report determine how you want them listed. So right now baseline work is a clustered column, and the default for work would be a line. If I just leave it like that and click OK, that makes a pretty nice chart. I can right click the data for work and change the fill background to black, and now maybe this is exactly how I want my report. I might want to move the title a little bit over here to the left, and there you go. And now up here in my report tab, in my custom group, I have my work and cost report, which we created a few minutes ago. I have a new work by phase report. They're sitting here in my recent list. And if I wanted to go to File, and Organizer, and take these reports and move them from this project into my global file so they're available for all projects, I could do that. So far, so good. So the next thing I want to do is create another new report based on a pie chart, but this time we're going to start with a blank slate. So I'll come to report, new report, and this time choose blank. And I'm going to name this one cost and cost percentage by phase, and click OK. Now, from the Design tab, in the Insert group, we'll click on Chart. I'm going to choose Pie, and then simply click OK. And when you do that, you can see a very small pie chart here. All you have to do is look over to the right to see how the engineers created this default pie chart report. They added the work field. That's it. The active task filter. Okay. A group named complete and incomplete task. And they're showing all subtasks with no sort order. So these are the defaults included with this report. Well, I want this one to be cost and cost percentage by phase. So I'm going to remove work. Now the chart is blank. I'll navigate to cost and click cost. Now before I go any further, think of something I mentioned earlier in this presentation. For those of you that have been using Project for years, the only way you could do this was to get out of a report and go back and build a custom table or modify a default table, and then go all the way back to reports and then see how they looked. Again, there's no table selection down here because all the fields are at your disposal here in the field list. No reason to have table selection here. You pick the fields you want in the report on the fly without having to get in and out of the report. To me, that is the most significant value add of the enhancements to reports coming in 2013. Many people say the value add is how pretty they look. Well, I agree they look nice, but I would argue that the ability to drag and drop fields, so to speak, on the fly is the major update. So I don't want any grouping on this one, so we'll change the group to no group. We'll change the filter to no milestones. Don't want any milestones in this report. Things are starting to look a little bit better. Okay, I can tell that my sort order is good. I don't need to do anything with that. So now we'll make it prettier and head to the Chart Tools tab on the ribbon and its Design tab, and we'll choose the third style, Style 3. So I'm going to stretch this chart. I'm going to stretch it left, stretch it up, and stretch it down. Okay. And I forgot to come over and say I want outline level 1 because we're looking at phases, not all the subtasks. So now it's looking better. So far, so good. So I'm going to right-click this chart. And at this point, I'm going to choose Format Data Labels. That's going to open up another section on the right-hand side to the right of Field List. I want category name, value, but I don't want show leader lines. Under label options, I want the label options to be outside end. And then I'll right-click these labels and come down to change data label shapes, and I'm going to choose rectangular callout. So I'll stretch this a little bit farther here. I'll close the field list, and I'll stretch this a little farther right. And now I've got a pretty nice looking report. I'm going to remove this text box up here because I don't need it, because the title in the report is good enough, but I'll copy that text, and then I'll delete that text box. And then I'll just paste over text here, and I'll move the title of my report to the center, and I'll go ahead to the Task tab on the ribbon and bold that selection. And I'll click the legend just to show you that you can do this, and go to the Task tab, and I'll change the font size here to 12 so the legend is a little bigger. And now I have a third report in the system. If I had to report and custom, I have 3 custom reports. cost and cost percentage by phase, work and cost, and work by phase. And the beauty in this, again, is the ability to simply add fields quickly to these reports. So I'll navigate back to report, custom, and go back to my cost and cost percentage by phase. And then I'd like to show you one more thing. I'm going to right click the chart. Okay. And I think this is kind of funny. I was telling my kids when they got home from school, hey guys, I was exploding pies, and they're like, what was Dad doing in the kitchen? Right? So you can come over here under pie explosion. Maybe we'll change that to 15%. Right? If you've never heard of pie explosion before, there's pie explosion. So I'm going to go ahead and drag all the pieces of the pie back together. I'll click away from the pie. And if you take your mouse over to the pie and hold your left mouse key down and drag on any piece of the pie and drag it right, there's some pie explosion there as well. So I'm going to drag them all back in, knowing that if I want, I can just click on one piece of the pie and then drag it out and have it stand out from all the other pieces of the pie. Pie explosion. Okay? But I have three nice new custom reports. So when you, on your own, go to report and come up and say click on dashboards and choose, say, burn down, and take a look at the default burn down report that ships out of the box. That's just a combo report. Okay? So you can see the fields that the engineers added right out of the field list. They made two charts, a chart on the left, work burn down, a chart on the right, task burn down. You could create these, but these are simply based on a combo report. Okay, there's other dashboards. Here's the project overview dashboard. This is much like the old project overview type report from years ago. And all you see in these reports is a text box, a table, a text box, a table, a text box, a chart, a table, and a text box. That's all this is. So if you go to report and you click new and you go to blank and you create a new blank report, you're just adding tables, charts, text boxes. That's it. And then you pick what fields you want included in your reports. Nothing less, nothing more. I'm going to close this file and open one more file for today. Dave asked me if I would point out one additional out-of-the-box report that you could customize. And so I'm going to take you back up to report and take you to getting started. And we'll go to a report called Best Practice Analyzer. So there are a few text boxes here. There's a couple of charts and one table. So if you take a look at the table down here on the bottom left, all I have to do is click on it, and that's going to open the field list on the right-hand side. But the text box above it says task with duration less than 8 hours. So imagine in your organization if you had a best practice for work, where you said all the tasks in the project have to be no less than 4 hours or no more than 40 hours of work, knowing there'll be some exceptions at times, but that's a best practice that you have. So we could take this best practices analyzer report and we could modify this table. So we'll go ahead and do that. So the first thing I don't want is schedule duration. So I'm just going to remove a field. And now we'll come down here to the filter list and scroll to the bottom of the list, and we'll choose new filter. That's going to open up the filter definition dialog box, where we'll name the filter task with work less than 4, greater than 40. Okay, you might want to give it a different name than that, but for today that's good. I don't want any milestones in this report, so I want that to be a milestone equals no, and work is less than 4, or work is greater than 40. So I'll go ahead and apply this filter, and now take a look at the table. I would want to change the text box title to task with work or greater than 40, and now I've customized this report by building a new filter and then applying it right into the Best Practices Analyzer report. So if you're new to the new reporting features that were brought in Project 2013, it's actually very simple. All you have to remember is text box, table, and chart. Text box is self-explanatory. Table, simply fields. A chart is pie chart, a bar chart, a scatter diagram that represents data about fields. But again, to me, the beauty in what was done in Project 2013 and forward is I can stay right in the report and I can determine which fields I want without having to get out of the report and modify tables in Microsoft Project. I never have to go to View and Gantt chart and go back and look at my table list and find maybe a default table and customize that table and then go back to Report and Reports and open the report again. Okay? That is my advice to you. Now I know on the agenda it said if time permitted we'd go to one more place, so we'll do that. We'll go back to Report. And over on the right-hand side, Visual Reports has been around in Microsoft Project for some time. It was not new to 2013, but Visual Reports is nice to know about. When you click on Visual Reports, that opens the Visual Reports Create Report dialog box. If you have Visio or Excel installed on your computer, right, then you can access one or both of the different types of reports that are here. You can create new templates for Excel and Visio. You can edit existing templates, manage your templates. You can choose task data, resource data, assignment data. There's the Microsoft Project data model at work in this dialog box. So I'll just choose assignment usage for today, or maybe we'll go to assignment usage for today, and we'll just choose baseline work report in Excel. And I'll change the select level of usage data to include in the report to months, and then click View. And after I click View, keep an eye right here where it says Gathering Data, Building a Local Online Analytical Processing Cube. Excel is going to open here in just a moment, and there'll be 2 worksheets in the workbook, one with the chart and one with the data. So it's currently opening Excel. It's taking a little longer than normal, and this usually happens when we've got a live meeting going on. I will maximize this Excel window, and there's the report. So when you look at the report, what you see is a chart with fields. And this is at outline level 1. All of the subtasks aren't displayed. If I open up this task list right here, there's the field list. We could go a little deeper in this field list and begin to roll out more activities. Or you can go to the assignment usage tab, and you could roll out, say, the scope phase right here, right in this table. There it goes. And then go back to the chart, and you'll see now that the scope phase has been rolled out. The subtasks are here, but the outline level 1 summary tasks are there for all the others, where all the subtasks are currently rolled up, now like the scope phase here in this baseline work report. Over on the right-hand side, In the pivot chart fields, you have the ability here to change the fields that are displayed in this report. This functionality has been around Excel for some time. This should give you an idea of the functionality that was brought into Microsoft Project when you click on, say, a table, and your field list opens here on the right-hand side. Again, I encourage you to take time looking at dashboards, resources, cost reports, because all these reports are nothing more than text boxes, charts, and tables with the great ability to very quickly change fields without leaving the report. So I'm going to take you back to PowerPoint. And this would be a good time if you have any questions to ask them. And while anybody's asking questions of Dave, Dave's moderating the questions, what I'll do is I will add just a little bit of information for you here. I don't know why PowerPoint is not there going forward. There it goes. Okay. There's some upcoming webinars. We can talk a little bit more about this in a bit. And then Dave, on this slide here, I've got that link to the survey and information for follow-up questions.
Right, and the survey link is also in the chat window. So if you wouldn't mind, we'd love it if you'd cut and paste that off into a browser and go fill out the survey. We made the survey as simple as we could, but it's ultimately Microsoft's questions that they're looking for answers on. If you've got questions, type them into the chat window. We'll let you know that you can reach us at education or sales at Milestone per the links that were on the previous slide. Molly's contact information is also there if you need to connect with her regarding licensing or trials or things along those lines. Anything related to sales or the sale of or procurement of the product itself. And then Dan's URL and mine are there as well if you want to reach out to us. We've recorded this webinar and we'd be happy to try to get it out to people. The last one was 75 megabytes. This one will probably be larger, so I think we are going to need to figure out a way to provide you a link to that webinar, as opposed to trying to mail it to you. But we will have a recording available, and we'd love it if you'd take a couple minutes and fill out the survey for us. And we have an upcoming webinar in March. I think it's a pretty compelling topic on managing non-project work in Microsoft Project. Most of our enterprise customers really have that challenge that they've got lots of work that isn't really project work. It's stuff they just need to capture because finance needs it. It might be stuff that helps them do cap and expense reporting, etc. And managing those as projects can be frustrating, and Dan's got some fantastic guidance on how to do that, and using kind of the same mindset, best practices, proven best practices for making that work easily in Microsoft Project. So it should be a good webinar. We will record it as well, but we'd love to have you obviously attend. If you have not upgraded a link to Skype for Business, we certainly recommend that as well. It seems to ease some of the issues. We had some people that couldn't get in today. We'll try to investigate why that is, and make sure we can get as many people to attend as possible. Any questions about any of the content Dan covered? Right now the chat window is very quiet, so I'm assuming either it's broken or there aren't any questions. But we'll certainly hang around for a minute or two, and if you'd like, I could try to unmute everybody, see how that works. I've got people typing, so I think the chat window must work. So I'll wait to see what comes up, and we'll pass those questions on to Dan. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate that. Yeah, let me cut and paste the survey link back in. It is in the top of the chat window, but if you didn't get in time, I could absolutely see how you could have missed that. Thank you for asking. There it is, again, for people who missed it the first time. And by all means, as part of that survey goes, we'd love it if you would comment in the comment box about other topics. Microsoft has asked us to provide 3 webinars really focused on Project Pro for Office 365, but we've done lots and lots of content related to many, many other things as far as Project and Project Online and Project PPM go. So if you've got other suggestions for things you would like to see us provide webinars on, we would like to extend this webinar series and keep it going month over month. We used to do this a long time ago back at the NCD offices at Microsoft, and we used to have a lot of people show up every month, and that community kind of went away when Microsoft sort of asked us to stop doing those. So we'd like to kind of bring those back as webinars, and we absolutely would love to do more of these. So if you've got comments to help us make them better, great. If you've got suggestions for content for future ones, that'd be awesome too.
And Dave, if you can still hear me,
yeah.
You didn't mention anything about March 18th at Microsoft, the resource engagement.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. We are doing an MPUG session. Dan will be doing a 2-hour session on resource engagements. If you attended our first webinar, you saw Dan do a 20-minute overview of resource engagements, but we're going to do a full 2-hour complete walkthrough of resource engagements, which is obviously new feature functionality in Project 2016 and Project Online. It is going to forcibly replace resource plans for people who are in Project Online by the 3rd or 4th quarter of this year. Let's just say September, roughly, it was the last date we were given. So if you're running Project Online and you're still using resource plans, it would behoove you to learn more about resource engagements. And Dan's done a ton of research on that feature, and we'll cover that end to end. So we're going to do that as a full 2-hour engagement, session, and in Minneapolis at Microsoft, in Edina, MPUG. I don't know, Dan, if we're planning on doing any webinar basis for that, but we'll try to get the word out via the MPUG channels if we're going to be able to do that as any kind of a webinar-based thing as well. Typically, that's a live, in-person event. So make it over to Edina if you can. No questions. It's incredible. It must have been clear, completely clear, Dan. Good job.
Either that or everybody went to sleep.
It's possible. That's always possible. Seems unlikely. Also, any feedback you have about the webinar quality, audio, video, will help us try to tweak that as well on our end.
And we got 7 minutes, so if anybody has any other questions not related to reporting, they're free to ask those too.
Absolutely. If you have any questions about anything related to the desktop tool, for sure, Dan probably has a snappy answer for you. But please don't limit them to that. It could be anything related to Project Online. It could be related to functionality in the server tool, whatever. We'll take a crack at answering any of those things. So just we've got 10 minutes. We're gonna stay on and let people, if you have any questions you want to type them in, please type them in. If you don't know about us at Milestone, we are a gold certified partner, and we spend our lives helping our clients adopt Microsoft Project and Project Server and Project Online. And to do that, we do a lot of work around education. We're big fans of integrations with back line of business systems to make that deployment more sticky, if you will, and connect better to the enterprise. So if you've got any needs around that, by all means, you can reach us at sales or education. We're here 24/7. If you haven't registered for the March webinar, you will see Eventbrite things come through. We use this Eventbrite tool Microsoft recommends for setting up these webinars. So if you see something come through from Eventbrite, it's probably one of these webinars. You might want to check spam filters, but the fact that you are all here means you've definitely been communicated with. So we appreciate that, and we'll try not to overdo the communications. Generally, Eventbrite will send out a sort of a note to you when you register saying here's your ticket, and it'll send a reminder about 2 days prior. And we'll always make sure that in that 2 day prior email there'll be a URL like we had today for the webinar itself. And there we go. I think that's all I have to say about that. Dan, do you have any other comments you want to make?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, if there aren't any questions, we'll hang out till 11. But if there aren't any questions, we'll certainly let you all go and get back to your day. We appreciate your time this morning, and we look forward to seeing you in March.